What's up, y'all? How you living? It's your native New Yorkin from blackbydesign.com. Here in this video, I would like to share with you all my top 3 core values and how I utilize these core values to reflect my sustainable lifestyle. The first I'll say is compassion. Now, as a city girl and a creator, you really got to think outside the box. Because as a youngster, being told that you live in the forest is kind of unbelievable when you only see a bunch of buildings and train systems and airports and tourists. And it really took me to do some exploring and travel and learn more about this forest land that we live upon here, which truly makes me appreciate the earth on a whole nother level. Now, growing up in New York City housing developments, this is considered the projects, or as some may know as the hood. For us, we consider this neighborhood the jungle. And obviously we had our reasons for that. I'm not going to get into depth about it. But until I started to travel and learn these different places, I noticed a big difference in comparison to the wildlife jungle opposed to the hood life jungle. However, for cautious reasons in anybody's jungle, you will want to make sure that your antennas are on super high just to avoid any harsh circumstances. Now, what I like to do with all of these living beings is just connect with them by giving it a little of my time. Now, whether it be in forms of nurturing or possibly some form of mentorship just to share my creativities. Man, those was the days back when I used to have fun out in Brooklyn before the pandemic. I would go and teach the youth on how to sustain their old clothing straight from their closets. And at one point, I never really understood the whole uniform aspect until you find out that the youth is actually being bullied for what they're wearing. Now that hits home for me. Truthfully, I was never one of those kids to get bullied because I was always with the shits. But I also wasn't going to sit around and just allow others to be bullied either. Now, back in the days, I handled things a hell of a lot different comparing to current time. Whereas now I have the opportunity to not only share my gifts, but also coach others on how to transform their old product into brand new products. However, I do come across those that would say that they're not as handcrafty, yet they love the whole idea of how fashion can be created in so many different ways. Now, in my case, as a sustainable designer who also practices a profession in visual merchandising, I'm always pushing the idea of shopping quality materials so that way it's easier to sustain, but also for someone to save on a tiny budget. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when those special occasion days pop up and you just gotta go get those cute little outfits that you just have to have. Yeah, that part. So another creative value that I've been learning to embrace is gardening. Now, I don't consider myself to have a green thumb as of yet, and I didn't grow up in a household where there were any particular gardeners. You know, my grandmothers had plants that they utilized for particular reasons. I mean, I don't really know exactly what their reasons behind it were, but throughout the years, I had to grow on the whole idea of what these plants and flowers and herbs were actually meant to do for us on a beneficial level when it comes to our health, right? And honestly, this here is just another endeavor that I've always wanted to get into, just to kind of get my feet wet and down the line say, yeah, I did that. I'm moving into my third core, which is freedom. I mean, I think we all want some form of freedom, at least by now in 2024. Really to more so get out of the whole mundane and what's considered the quote unquote norm. I believe whatever you desire and choose to do within your lifespan, then that's what you go on and do for yourself, honey. But for my own personal visions, freedom looks like staying in my own lane. If I have to get off and exit and rest for a little bit, then that's what I'm going to do. It also looks like not being subjective to any rules. I mean, literally coming and going whenever I please, wearing whatever I choose to wear, living childlike and carefree, mainly because shit don't be that serious if you really look at it for real. Speaking from my own experiences, I was one of those that actually take things really serious. Curious to why things were the way they were and how these changes are going to be made amongst us in our communities. What do we do to get ourselves out of these traps that we find ourselves in? Where do we go to communicate with someone to address these issues that we're facing? Who are the ones that actually care? And all of the many questions that I've asked to those who never really had an answer, but to only find out that no one is really coming to save us for real. I've learned when we reflect back on our past experiences and actually ask ourselves, what have we learned from these things? I would also ask myself, would you like to go back and repeat these experiences? And that's the overall question. I'll say choose what you value, stay on top of your game, and enjoy all of your freedom.